Hello.
Hi, everybody. It's Saturday again, so we're having another sit-down visit. We still haven't come up with a, a, a cliche name or a click name or what. Anyway,
Yeah.
and so we've gotten a couple of ideas from y'all, so y'all keep those ideas coming, and we're going to keep mulling them around and so we can come up with. But for now, it's a sit-down visit. So welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Yep.
This week has been so rainy here, and we're in Southwest Virginia. And it's that time of year where it's either going to be rain or snow. And some mornings it's rain and it's snow by the afternoon.
Right.
It's back and forth. So it's been kind of crazy. Weather-wise, this week, I've gotten the garden bug because it's in the 60s sometimes during the day, but it's just I don't even start my seeds for another week. So,
Right.
my family in the deep south is saying, "Oh, I put my tomatoes in the ground today," and I'm like, "Oh my word," But we have the incubator we talked about last week. We have candled all of the eggs. We've hit day 14, so we gave them a candle, and we lost a few. I forget how many we lost.
Well, Carrie, all her eggs were not fertilized, so that was 6
She had a
gone
real
out of
young
29.
rooster, and we didn't think about checking them before we put them in the incubator.
Yeah, should have done that.
Should have checked him before we put him in
Yep.
the incubator, but he's young and wasn't getting the hens every day all the time yet. So we had to throw those 6 away. And then we had 2 that were quitters. That means they died after the 7 weeks. After 7 weeks, oh my
Yeah,
word.
that's a long incubation
After the
period.
first 7 days, they died.
Right.
And then we had one that wasn't fertile.
Yeah.
That we think was ours. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I think we've got 16 that'll be hatching in the next week. So we've got to get our brooder ready, get that all set up.
Yeah.
For
Gotta
ready
do
for the
that.
babies. Yeah, ready for the babies to come. So we're excited about that. What else
Yeah.
has been this week?
Uh, well, what's new on TFL this week?
Lots of new articles. We've got a lot of new articles for you. Been real busy getting the books. We're working on the next set of books, the bundle of books to come out. It's about gardening. We're getting that real close to getting out. We've had a lot of
Yeah.
orders on the shop, and y'all said a lot of nice things about the designs. So we're real happy that you're pleased with those. Um, I think it's just the second verse, same as the first kind of
Yeah.
thing there. We've had there's a few comments this week. There wasn't one question that, some weeks we get a lot of questions about the same thing. And then some weeks I get, a bunch of emails and they're just spread out about different subjects. That's been kind of how it was this week. Most of the emails that I got were on different, there wasn't a theme, of the week like there
Right.
is sometimes. A lot of nice comments on Pinterest this week. I thank you for those. If you're following us on Pinterest, a lot of the recipes you're trying and some of the tips you're doing with the chickens and different things. So I really appreciate that. That's really encouraging for us. That's why we do it. We do it to help you. And let's see. One of the comments I wanted to share this week was from Nancy. If you're watching, Nancy, hi. She has just started using einkorn, and she had read about the benefits, and she was checking out. I'm going to read it because I don't want to misquote her. And she was checking out some of the recipes that we have on our website. And she said she's looked at a lot of recipes and she's been hesitant about using some of them. But I seemed like I was down to earth. That's very kind. And so she tried this recipe and she said that it was absolutely perfect. I use the oven instead of the bread machine. I think this is one that my husband and I will have on hand to use as our regular bread. I'm looking forward to checking out more of your recipes since this one turned out so well. Thank you for taking the time to post these for the benefit of us newbies, and I'm sure even seasoned einkorn bakers. That's very kind. We got 3 or 4 on our einkorn post this week. A couple of questions, and then just nice comments like that. So einkorn is different. There is a learning curve. We've got my best tips on the Farmer's Lamp. We've got an einkorn conversion chart for you, which is our number one download right now is the einkorn
Okay.
conversion chart. So we've got all that going for you. And then, of course, our recipes. one piece of advice that I have given like 6 or 7 times this week is, if you're just starting out and you're not comfortable, we've got, I don't know how many tips are on our 14, 15 tips in our article, but if you're not comfortable with that, start with recipes that are designed for einkorn. Don't just try to start making all of your favorite recipes using einkorn flour, because there is a little difference. The texture is different, other things are different. So start with a recipe that's specifically designed for einkorn. And then as you get comfortable using it and you see how it acts in other recipes, then you can start converting your favorite recipes over to einkorn. So that's a tip that I've given several times this week.
And I don't have any tips for einkorn because I'm not a baker, but I am an eater, and I like einkorn. It digests better than any other grain, ancient or modern grain, than I've had. I guess it's because the gluten is different than the modern wheat glutens.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. We love einkorn. The dog, Thor, he begs for einkorn bread, einkorn dough. He loves it, and he won't eat some of the other wheats in bread form. He just will snub them, but he will beg for einkorn. So
in its raw form, even like I was making cinnamon
yeah.
rolls earlier today for us to have in the morning for breakfast, and he was just sitting there begging for the dough, and then I looked down and there was the cat, and one of the cats was begging for it. So I was like, okay, there was really something in it, that they really want. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's the godfather of all ancient wheats, really, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I enjoy einkorn.
So what was the question of the week?
Question of the week you got here is, why don't my recipes turn out like my grandma's recipes? She knows that you have a lot of recipes of your grandma on your site that seem to turn out, but her grandma recipes don't seem to turn out the same as her grandma's.
We've covered that in several of our recipe articles, but the shorter answer is, you don't have the same ingredients as your grandmother had. That was a special time in our country. There were no pesticides, no herbicides, nothing like that in the food supply. There were no GMOs. Most people, even in towns, their milk was delivered fresh from the dairy every day, and the butter came from the local dairy that was delivered.
And the cows had a different diet,
Yep.
and the chickens had a different diet, producing different quality of eggs.
Mm-hmm. Most people had backyard eggs, or they knew a farmer who they got them from. My grandmother, my mother has told me stories of my grandmother selling eggs to their school teachers. They would drive them home after school in their buggies, actually. I think a couple of them had older cars, but and would pick up eggs. So since they were coming for eggs, they would drop the kids off. So, all of the ingredients that she had, you don't have. So how can you get even as close as we are? I'm pretty close because we have our own eggs. We have fresh milk from the cow. We use einkorn flour. We don't use GMO products. We don't use any artificial food stuff. So I get pretty close, and to me, they're just like my grandmother's. But she might have a different opinion if she were still with me to tell me. But so the best thing I can tell you is, buy the best ingredients you can afford. If you can afford pasture raised eggs, which you should be able to from a local farmer, $4 or $5 a dozen. That's what they are in the grocery store for, factory eggs. So
yeah, the guy down the road that I know, he's been selling eggs still for, I think he was selling for $3 a dozen when everybody at the store was going for $5 a dozen, and he didn't go up. So
yeah, there's all kinds of local options, that you can check out. I recommend, if you have to buy your butter, I always recommend Kerrygold butter. It comes from over there, I think Scotland, where it comes from.
Ireland. Yeah.
And they are grass fed 360 days of the year. They bring them in a couple times a year to check them. Or is it 362? I forget. They bring them in. I talked to them about it because I wanted to just really find out about them. They bring them in from the pasture a couple of times a year to do health checks, pregnancy checks, check their feet, see if there's anything going on in the herd. And the rest of the time, they're out on the hills on the grass. So I always recommend them. And whenever we've been in the place where we had to buy butter, that's what I buy. So I recommend them. They're going to get real close with that. Grass-fed milk. Most grocery stores have organic grass-fed milk. I would buy that. Organic flour.
And well, staying on milk before you get off of that, I mean, most of the world is drinking an A2 milk,
Mm-hmm.
and America, like one Indian told me years ago, American milk will make you sick. They were used to drinking an A2 strand of milk.
In India,
you know, but and different places in the world, that really was the way it used to be. A2 milk, easier to digest, better for you on so many levels. I think we have an article on the Farmer's Lamp about A2 milk, and there's a lot of articles you can find here and there. I think there's a company even called A2 milk. I don't know anything about them.
I don't either.
But that milk right there can make a big difference. Whether someone could drink milk sometimes, from what I've heard from other people, you know, I've never been what would be classified as lactose intolerant, but growing up, I know my grandpa, you know, had cows, and I had some milk off the farm growing up, and that my body liked. And then when traveled the world and different places and started buying some milk out of the store, my body just didn't want it. Mm-hmm. I tried to always listen to my body, and my body just didn't want to consume it. I didn't know at the time that it was probably an A1 variant of milk, but there's a difference.
There's a real difference in the A2 milk. So yeah, that's a good tip to get that. You can find some local dairies that have A2 cows, A2 cows, you know. Well, Buttercup's an A2 cow. Excuse me. And back in the old days, most people had Guernseys or Jerseys, and most of them were A2. No, they weren't going around classifying them then because it wasn't a thing. And then when the modern dairies began to ramp up to meet the demand for the cities and the grocery stores, you know, that's when things changed here in the U.S. So that's my recommendation, is that you buy the best quality ingredients that you can afford, you know, and then you'll be as close as you can get. It's just a different time now, sadly. But
yeah, as long as you
that's the answer.
Yeah, that recipe. I'm always shocked at like stuff you make. You know, sometimes it comes out a little different, and you'll say, oh, well, I didn't do something, like I didn't fold the dough twice or something that I would think, as, you know, a non-baker, somebody that doesn't cook anything, I wouldn't think it would make any difference. But you know, a lot of that following the recipe, you got to have, what is that thing? Better ingredients, better pizza. Was the thing that they used to be? What was that? Papa John's or something that advertising that?
Yeah.
But I mean, different ingredients, different outcomes.
Yeah. Speaking of pizza, tomorrow is Sunday. That's our pizza day. So we make our einkorn pizza dough and calzones and.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
Yummy. That's our Sunday tradition.
Yep. You got to have a good meal, you know, or a little. Well, it's not a good meal, but it's a cheap. Yeah,
it's a cheap meal for us.
Some people call it a cheap meal. It's mixing your sugars and fats, basically, but you know, it's good.
It's good. So I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover today.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, coming up, this coming week, we got a lot of rain in the forecast here.
Every day next week.
Every day. This is a rainy time in this area, it seems, so it's going to be rainy.
A lot of flooding. We saw rock slides today on our way into town. Some trees and rocks had come down the mountain and somebody had moved most of it out of the road, but you could tell that it was still there. So, so it's a time to be careful and be sure you keep a close eye on your animals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Next week, maybe we'll have chicks
Mm-hmm.
Would that be great?
Yep, and we'll have that video probably maybe next Saturday. We'll have it edited and put up for the process of that new incubator.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we'll get that up as soon as we can.
yeah,
Thank you again for all the emails, all the questions, and the comments on the blog. I couldn't cover them all. I just Nancy stuck out in my brain because we're here to help you, and so it's always nice to know that you've accomplished a goal, which is to help someone else along the way.
yeah. We wish you all the best, and that God blesses your work this coming week. And if we could help you out anyway, don't be shy. Send us an email or leave us a comment, and I'm sure Rhonda will get back to you.
Until next time, safe and happy journey.